Silence all your devices. And I'm among those individuals, so let me do that now. Okay. Great. So I'll call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Sykesville Mayor and Town Council meeting. Today is Monday, May 28th, 2024. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. We'll begin our meeting as we begin all meetings here in the council chambers with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll follow that with a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In that moment of silence. Okay, thank you everyone. All right, it is, should be completely obvious, but just for the record, is there anyone, no, you can't see, we do need to get blinds up there. Is anyone here for public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move right into our consent agenda, which is inclusive of one item, the minutes from our May 13th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve or any questions?
So moved. Motion to approve it.
I did request an amendment of a microscopic change, and with or without it, it's still correct fundamentally.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I'll turn to the clerk and ask that correction has been made thus already. Yes. Thank you so much. So we have a motion for the approval of the minutes for May 13th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Keenan. First was made without my announcement by Councilman Grassley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Our minutes from May 13th have been unanimously approved and forever entered into the written record of the town of Sykesville. Our first item of business is unfinished. It is the public hearing and to consider, discuss, act on the adoption of ordinance number 2024-04, an ordinance of the council of the town of Sykesville amending chapter 19, mayor and council, of the code of the town of Sykesville to incorporate changes necessary to amend the salaries of the elected officials starting in fiscal year 2026. The summary on this item is very brief. It's basically a repeat of what the title to the ordinance is, but I would like to note that the proposed ordinance would increase the annual salaries of elected officials following the 2025 election. Joe, would you like to share?
Only to say it's only the individuals that are up for re-election or the people that get elected in the 2025 election, and then the remaining increases would go into effect after the May 2027 election.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, so,
Motion to open the public hearing?
thank you. Anyone want a second?
Second.
Okay, so Councilman Grassley makes a motion to open the public hearing for this ordinance, and Council President Carter makes the second. All in favor of opening the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We will open the public hearing precisely at 7:05. Well,
Any comments, Joe?
any comments
There
from
were
you?
No comments that were received by the town.
Thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Councilwoman Carroll, do we have a
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Grassley. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The meeting is now, I'm sorry, the public hearing. Boy, am I rushing things. The public hearing is now closed 45 seconds after it opened. So noted by the clerk, I'm sure. So here we go. Any questions or comments by the council for staff?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-05 as presented to the council.
Thank you so much, Councilman Grassley. Do we have a second?
Second.
Council President Carter with the second. All in favor, and I'll read the motion for the record. To approve the introduction of ordinance 2024-04 as presented. Yes, and that is the, yes, as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Unanimously, that ordinance has been adopted.
I misspoke. I said 05. I'm sorry. It was 04.
It's okay.
But that's all right. I think we all
That's
know.
all right. I about also read to schedule the public hearing for today. So, we've already done that. So we're even Steven there, Councilman Grassley. That moves us to our next item of business, which is new business.
Did we approve this or just open?
I'm sorry?
We approved it.
Both.
We approved it.
Yes, we opened, closed, and approved.
Okay.
Because of all the overwhelming participation in the public hearing, we were able to close the public hearing. But that's great, you know, everybody loves us, loves this proposal. Next item is new business. It is to consider, discuss, act on the introduction of ordinance number 2024-05, an ordinance to amend the adopted budget of the town of Sykesville for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024.
Was this your question about, have we introduced this ordinance or no? Okay.
No, the unfinished business, I didn't recall the mayor saying that we would approve it. I thought that we would
Your
just,
second was for the approval.
I made a motion to approve it as
Presented,
presented.
yes. I know I'm just going so fast.
You are.
It's only because I've read through this whole thing 4 times, so for me, I can't remember if I've said it out loud or not yet. So I apologize. So I'll slow down. So yes, this evening we are now considering, discussing, and acting on the introduction of ordinance number 2024-05. And that the item is, as we progress through the fiscal year, several budget categories need to be adjusted several times to properly account for current and expected revenues and expenses for the remainder of fiscal year 24. This document that we have all reviewed, including the budget revisions, includes an overall decrease in revenues and expenditures by $1,227,050. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. So again, this is our standard process for as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year is to go through and make sure that some of our categories are hitting where we expect them to and then adjust otherwise. So lots of minor adjustments throughout the document. So I'll just hit some of the high notes. Obviously on the revenue side, our miscellaneous receipts had to be increased quite a bit because of our rebate that we get from our health insurance provider. So every year the town is eligible for a rebate if our group does better than anticipated. So this is actually for last fiscal year's round. We actually performed quite well. So I guess we have a very healthy workforce. Not anticipating that to continue for other fiscal years, at least that amount of
Oh, I
rebate.
thought you meant the health of our
The
staff.
health of our staff. But the amount of rebate should not be at that level probably ever again, but we'll see.
Was there any explanation on that? Because it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was much higher than budgeted.
No, so again, everything looks back. So they look at how we performed in previous fiscal years, or at least that time frame. So as we had maybe some retirements or people leave the workforce, they don't immediately catch up with those people leaving. So we think that's probably what had something to do with it.
Okay.
So they had a higher than anticipated expectation of what we were going to cost the insurance provider, and we just didn't even come close to that.
All right.
I would assume the formula is a black box that it just magically shows up?
No, we get told what that's going to be.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
The other large adjustments on the revenue side were actually decreases in both the expected grant revenue and expected use of ARPA funds, and those are all related to capital projects that got pushed into next fiscal year. So again, we're just dropping those line items here. On the expenses side, obviously professional services, legal fees, and some consulting work that we're having done at the station building. So a couple line items in that category had to be increased. Public safety budget, we had to increase overtime, and that's mainly because Chief's been down 2 officers really the entire year. Obviously, when Anthony was going through the police academy, he wasn't out patrolling. So again, more overtime expenses associated with that. And then operating supplies was another big ticket item in the police budget, and I think that mainly had a lot to do with us gearing up for our new K-9 unit. So again, just a minor tweak here and there. On public works, we had to increase salaries, and that's mainly because we've been heavy in public works for most of the year. This was anticipated, so we had people that tell us they're getting ready to leave, so we go ahead and hire somebody to make sure they're up and running before that person actually leaves. So there's just a lot of overlap this year. Streets and roads, we were able to reduce quite a bit, and that's mainly because obviously we had another good winter. And then Parks and Recreation increased due to property maintenance and the ever increasing tree maintenance budget. So there's always things that kind of pop up throughout the year that we either have to take care of or just want to take care of to make sure our parks continue to look great. And then the last, I guess, larger adjustments were employee benefits. Obviously, if we have more salaries or increase in salaries line items, then we have an increase in retirement benefits for those employees. So we had to adjust that up ever so slightly. And then the big one is the capital reduction in both the capital expenditure line item and the ARPA line item. And again, those are all related to specific capital improvements that are just getting moved to next fiscal year. So if there are no questions, staff is recommending that we approve the introduction tonight and that the public hearing gets set for June 10th.
So is it, I'm just noticing that it zeroes out.
Yes,
It has to.
it's balanced. The decreases and increases must match, yeah.
Yep. So all of the adjustments are a zero on the ending number for us in terms of the budget itself.
Well, yeah, the overall number decreased by that $1.2 million, 1.2 and change.
Right.
But it's the same.
But it was offset
reduction.
by the, right,
Yeah, there's
right.
the same reduction in revenues as there are expenses.
Right.
For those that are listening, clarification, this is nothing to do with the budget that we just approved for fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
Correct.
This is to correct 2023 to 2024.
This is current fiscal year, not proposed fiscal
It's our last chance to change it, to amend it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was important. I know I read it so fast when I said 2023, ending in June of 24, and yeah, that's good. So yes, it has nothing to do with what we just passed in May.
And that large $500 increase for Parks and Rec, that was the squirrel costume?
Leo will come right on the $500 increase.
That was literally Leo's last opportunity to refer to that.
I know, he's really obsessed with the squirrel.
Yeah, yeah.
Disclosing it ahead
Yeah.
of time,
Yeah.
worrying about the cost of it.
Oh, got it.
I never thought Leo was one to be distracted by a squirrel, but here we are.
Squirrel.
Any other comments of legitimacy for staff?
So I know I've asked this before, but is this the last budget revision of this fiscal year?
It will be well, it has to be the
Yeah.
last.
I mean, so there's no balancing everything out after everything comes in in end of June.
No, once the fiscal year ends, any adjustment after that is an audit adjustment. So
Okay.
As we go through that audit process, there'll be things that end up getting changed, but it won't come back before council for a vote. Right?
Change to what actually happened this last month and a half or something
Yep.
like that. Yeah. And because we're moving so much money to the next fiscal year, that's going to be reflected in the first budget amendment then?
It's aggressive. No, well, you already adopted the budget.
Not the budget, but yeah, but the 1.2 million will probably get tapped onto that budget.
No. It's already included in it.
It's already included.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew
Because
that.
we're reducing this budget.
You knew that was going to
We
happen.
have to
Yes.
change next fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we were working on the budget for fiscal year 25. We were also working on the final amendment for this
Oh,
evening's
okay.
meeting. Yeah.
We knew what projects we were not going to get done in
Got
the
it.
next, 2 months.
Cool.
As I said earlier, this does not affect
Yeah, I was
this budget that we just approved.
I know how Craig likes budget amendments, so I was anticipating a budget amendment in July. So.
We can pick on Craig all
Hey, exactly.
That's right.
So.
Socks isn't here. Is there any other comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion according to the staff's recommendations, which is to approve the introduction of this ordinance as presented and to schedule the public hearing for adoption for June 10th.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Keenan. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Grassley. Any further need for debate about squirrel cautions? Okay, great. So
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, great. We'll call for a vote. The motion on the table is to approve the introduction of ordinance number 2024-05 as presented and to schedule the public hearing and adoption for June 10th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's everyone. No one is opposed. Unanimously, the ordinance has been introduced and we shall have our public hearing on such on June 10th, which is our one and only meeting scheduled for June. Okay, that moves us to our announcements and reports. I will begin with the first announcement. The next meeting is Monday, June 10th, 2024. Second announcement is that we have volunteer opportunities available on the Parks and Recreation Commission, the Planning Commission, Crossing Guard, and Police Auxiliary. If interested in any of these opportunities to volunteer for the town, please email town@sykesville.net for more info. That brings us to staff updates, and because Craig's not here, I can't preempt him. So go ahead there, Coach. Let's see, Chief. We've got a public safety report coming at us.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right, you're welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Chief.
Before I start with the public safety report, I would like to address some questions that I received. The first was regarding 00086 and 00089. The question was it the same person? These were two separate incidents that occurred at the Ye Olde package store. One was actually a theft where a young lady had stolen some tequila and ran out of the store. It was good tequila, though. And the second one was actually an indecent exposure, where a gentleman,
Not a gentleman.
After the tequila.
not involving the tequila, but let's just say exposed himself in a public parking lot. So they were not related. I'm happy to say that we've identified the suspect in the indecent exposure case, and he will be charged here very, very soon.
Was that intoxication that led him to that, or you're not sure really?
Don't recall any reference to him being intoxicated.
Okay.
He doesn't have a tan card, does he?
No. I know what you're referring to, yes. No. It was actually a work truck. Made it very easy for us to identify.
Oh, been there,
Tommy,
done that.
Witness for video.
No, with easy identification because of employees at trucks, that's all.
It wasn't one of our trucks.
Right.
No, it was
That's
not a
what
town
I
of
was trying to
Sykesville.
get at.
Right on target there.
Yes, thank you.
Moving along, the next question was 00088 regarding an assault at Birch Manor. This was simply an alleged staff member, alleged staff on resident assault. So a 63-year-old resident alleged that a staff member had assaulted him. There was no evidence of this in our investigation, nor were there any witnesses. So the family is trying to move him to a different facility, but I'm not sure what the question was there.
Yeah, I was
about
kind
that.
of, sorry about that.
Just giving you kind of a recap of,
I had my finger, I was typing on the thing. So yeah, I apologize for that question, Chief.
does that address what?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
The next incident, 00092, was about what we call an unintended death. And the question was the death due to natural causes? And yes, we believe it was. It was a 77-year-old male. We are awaiting the results of an autopsy. But according to the forensic examiner who came out to the scene, it was his opinion that this was natural causes.
Is there some way you could kind of highlight that in the report that
natural causes, right?
natural
So
causes?
you don't get the question.
So I don't get the question, because when I see that,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, what
Yeah,
exactly?
and we would, once we get the autopsy results back, the officer will submit a supplement report to
Okay.
the initial report stating that upon hearing from the medical examiner's office, it was ruled a death by natural causes.
Or could you?
We didn't have the information at the time, and so it's
Yeah,
still
okay, I
pending.
see what
but
you're saying,
We could say it appears to be by natural causes,
That
but
would be best.
Or either an elderly, like, if I knew the person was in his 70s or something, I wouldn't be like, okay.
Easy.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't mean it like that,
so
but
you
it's
guys
like,
don't get the whole report.
No.
then,
No,
right?
we don't. That's
So maybe something no suspicious activity or something
Right,
asterisk
right.
or
The signs of
something.
foul-
So you don't
foul
get
play.
bombarded with questions from us that.
Of course.
Yeah.
yeah. Then so when I see that,
Bombarded with questions from
Us.
Al.
but I mean that's okay.
No, it's a legitimate question, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I see death investigation, I'm like, well, what happened? That's just
Right.
you know.
Right. Although I will say, if it was a homicide, then it would be listed as a homicide
Yeah.
investigation, but, so.
Well, that's a good point too. And the layperson probably like myself wouldn't have known that. So I had the same query. I would have had the same query had I not been aware of what had happened.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Chief, The resident I heard had a dog. Was the dog safely relocated, or is that beyond?
Don't
your-
recall seeing that in the report anywhere about the dog. Normally, our protocol would be that not just to leave the dog there by itself. We would reach out to a family or next to kin and see if somebody could, address the pet. But I don't recall hearing any mention of a dog.
I would assume that was done.
I would assume so too, yeah. We wouldn't just leave the pet there by themselves. The next one was 00094, just some follow-up about a crash investigation. This was a case where a vehicle had crashed into a pole and then overturned right here on Springfield Avenue near Walnut. It was about 2:45 in the morning. Both occupants left the scene before Sergeant Slareth arrived on the scene, as well as Auxiliary Lieutenant Jeff Queen, who was assisting that evening. Through their investigation, they were able to identify the driver and a passenger and located them at a residence here on Norwood Avenue. Unfortunately, this was several hours later.
So they left the vehicle.
They did.
And then okay.
And I believe that actually the vehicle struck the BG&E pole and it caused a temporary power outage. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Night. I think just there in that area. So, this investigation is continuing. The driver has been charged with numerous must-appear offenses. However, driving under the influence was not one of them because we couldn't establish that. So, basically leaving the scene of a property damage collision and so forth. So, the driver has been cited. And just so you know, the driver's claim was that a deer had run out in front of her as she was driving down Springfield Avenue. So she swerved to avoid the deer and struck the pole.
And felt it
Take that as it
important to stay with the car.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And you never avoid the animal, unfortunately.
Not at 2:45 in the morning. Yeah, no.
Agreed.
Okay, there was a question about a couple of the warrants being served. I don't know if you saw my memo there, but
Yes.
let's just say that Sergeant Lacey, as part of his duties, is to review all open warrants and on a continuous basis. And if we can find the location of someone who's wanted, then we go after them. And so that's what occurred in these two cases.
Yeah, it was,
More to follow in the future.
right. Just seemed a little uptick in that, so I was wondering why.
There will be an uptick.
All right.
Yes.
That's good.
And lastly, there was a question about the stolen vehicle, even though it'll be in the next PSR. If you want, I can address that. There was a vehicle stolen on Harlan Lane this past May 26th. So that was what, Friday night?
Friday night.
Believe? Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Saturday.
Saturday morning. Okay, yeah. At about 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
Again, as we discussed earlier, it was one of the vehicles that is prone to being stolen, a Kia, and it was left unlocked with, unfortunately, the keys in the vehicle and some personal belongings. We were able to, this is still continuing as well, this investigation, but we were able to link it to another stolen vehicle that was recovered off Gaither Road the following morning that had a broken out window and was stolen from Washington, D.C. So you can put one and one together and see that somebody stole a vehicle in Washington, D.C. and came here and stole another car in our town. So we do have some video, and Sergeant Lacey is aggressively pursuing this investigation through all avenues to see if we can identify the culprits. But unfortunately, at this point in time, we don't have, we have not identified any suspects. But we know there was at least three suspects involved. That's about all we have at this point in time. So again, I would implore our residents, strongly urge our residents to lock their vehicles, remove any valuables from within, and keep a close eye out for any suspicious persons or vehicles and call us right away. Very unfortunate.
So the car has not been recovered at this point?
Not as of yet.
Okay.
Okay, did that address all your?
Yeah, thanks, Chief.
I mean, all of the council's concerns?
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. And we'll start with the public safety report covering about 2 weeks, May 6th through the 20th. We had 451 total events. It's been kind of a busy time for us. 7 assist other agency, 11 community policing events, 20 foot patrols, 222 patrol checks, and 23 traffic enforcement initiatives. You've probably noticed an uptick in traffic enforcement since our newest officer has hit the road. He's very eager and aggressive to get out there and enforce the laws, and he's doing a phenomenal job. So,
Thank you.
residents beware.
Chief, in the traffic enforcement, is there a part of town that we're having more difficulty with?
No, not in particular. From time to time, we get complaints from residents. The first thing that we do normally set up the speed trailer in those areas, and then follow it by traffic enforcement. And it varies, from time to time. Seems like Obrecht is always a concern, just because of the low speed limit there. But we try to address, residents' complaints the best we can.
Thank you.
Sure. You will notice there were 13 incident reports with these other events, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have about any of those 13 reports. Do you have any?
Oh, good.
I know we covered several of them in the questions.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Certainly. And if there are no questions,
I don't believe so.
I'd like to highlight a few positive things. One, we'll be participating again in the torch run to benefit Maryland Special Olympics, June 11th. We've been assigned an athlete from, I'm not sure if he's here in town, but close to town. So we're excited to meet him, and I think actually one or more of our members may actually run with the athlete.
That's awesome.
So it's a great event. Always look forward to it. And we're excited to meet our athlete and participate again this year. So very, very good stuff.
Will it be the same part of the
Same route?
route is the word I was looking for, yeah.
Yep, I
Okay,
believe
good.
they start from the community college and end up in Westminster. So
Okay.
it's a nice little jog,
Yeah, it is.
more than I could do at this point in my life. Some of the joggers here might,
I mean,
consider joining.
I wouldn't say it's a jog. It's like a fast stroll.
Okay. If you choose to speed walk, you can do that as well. That's quite all right. I have walked in it before. And I also wanted to point out, you may have seen on Facebook that Sergeant Lacey was recently honored by the Knights of Columbus. Well, you were there.
I was
You and your wife.
Yeah.
Very happy that he was selected for to receive the award that we nominated him for, and he's done a tremendous job since he's been with us, and it was good to see him get recognition. And so
Nice.
it's always good to recognize good performance.
Absolutely.
And lastly, just wanted to update you all on the emergency operations plan update. Had a meeting last week with the folks from Carroll County Emergency Management. And so we went over some changes I've already made, some updates. And so the plan is at this point basically to, once we update the plan, I think it has to come before you all. You all have to officially, I think they call it promulgate it. I guess that means vote on it or accept it as an official document here. I will need your input in the review of it, just to help me make sure we have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. But once it's updated, then we'll require some training on it. Since it's a new document, we'll have to do some training. And then lastly, followed by a drill or a tabletop. So that's kind of the plan at this point.
Okay.
I think we're on schedule to get it done. Some of the changes were easy in terms of the emergency contacts. They all change every couple of years and a lot of that, but getting into the nuts and bolts of it. The plan itself is, in my opinion, still valid. There's not a whole lot we need to change. We did update our vulnerability assessment to include cyber attacks. I know you'd like that, Captain. Because that's something we didn't have there before. We made a couple other changes too, but I think we've included Northrop Grumman as one of the key infrastructure that, although it's not in town, could affect us because it's right across the street. So just a matter of taking a look at it, making sure it contains everything that we need, and train on it, and come up with some ideas for a drill and do it.
Awesome.
Actually, Chief, that's the point that I was concerned about. I know you guys know what to do, but the problem is if you got to call somebody and you pick up the phone and you dial it, the number you have reached, uh-oh,
Yeah, don't want that to happen.
don't want that to happen. On the other hand, if you say, well, it was, but now it is,
Even better.
No, it was in need of being updated. It's actually supposed to, I'm telling on myself now, it's supposed to be done every 2 years. So it was time that we put a lot of effort into it initially, and it's just one of those things where kind of falls by the wayside with everything else going on. But I'm glad that you mentioned
it's
it.
important but not urgent.
It needs to be done, so we will get it done.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
All right, that brings us to council/committee reports. I'll start on my far left with Councilman Dyer.
Nothing?
Okay, Council President.
I have nothing.
Okay.
So Parks and Rec, upcoming movie of Coco is the June 8th movie. And then the announcement for those who weren't here on the winning vote of the,
I was very disappointed. Sandlot was one vote short. Sorry, one vote. Yeah.
What won it?
17 to 16.
What beat it?
Toy Story.
Well, duh.
Very disappointed.
How many Sandlots have there been and how many Toy Stories?
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either. I think there's been 3 Toy Stories or 4?
there's 6.
4.
Oh, are you serious?
Four.
Okay. 4. I'll go
This is
with
the OG that's going to get played.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
That's fine.
and for the,
Have a classic, you don't need any follow-ups.
and then just different things that Parks and Rec will have going on during the time of the movies. So definitely encourage families to bring their kids and join us at Miller Cooper Park.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I was happy to open the splash pad
Yeah, you
Friday morning, taking the first bucket. That was exciting. So thanks to Joe for making that happen, because I think it was it 7:30? 7:30. So yeah, I had
7:31. I'm sorry.
sorry, yeah. So
That's usually the bucket where they're clearing out all the algae and
Yeah.
everything else, right?
nice and cold. Nice and didn't need any coffee after
Takes
that.
one for the team.
Yeah, so exactly.
Gotta get those microbes out of there somehow.
So, the historic
Builds
district.
immunity.
Yes, it does, yeah. The Historic District Commission did meet Wednesday. They had a 33-minute meeting. I watched it because I was at the awards banquet for the Knights of Columbus that Wednesday night. Had a conflict, so. And for the record, I didn't know who was going to win any of those awards, so it's kind of kept very tightly until that night. So my wife won something, she was more shocked than anybody. It was kind of funny seeing hers win something. But they did have a 33-minute thing. What was there, 2? Carrie, you could help me out. I know that there was a lot of talk about the HOA at Warfield. I watched it. I'll have a better report June 10th about that. I
worries.
apologize
No,
about that.
thank you.
So,
That's fine.
they were advising the HOA on how to take care of certain things that are not historic district related.
Got it.
Yes, the HOA is trying to get their feet under themselves and
Mm-hmm.
try to figure out what they were going to be overseeing versus what the HDC would be.
Got it.
Yeah, they didn't want the Historic District Commission to be meeting over things that they don't have
Purview.
purview
Yep,
over. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
that was it.
Good. Thank you, Councilman Keenan.
Yeah, DSC, farmers market's up and running, very popular. I was down there this past Sunday, so Councilwoman McGraw down there as well. Hugely popular. It's clearly something that the town
great
and
event.
surrounding areas love. It's great to have it. And the only other thing is the Global Roots mosaic mural will be unveiled on June 7th. The time is still to be determined, but it'll be at 7547 Main Street. As soon as the time is made available, there'll be an announcement.
Thank you.
Starting to look good. I was actually going through the mural and looking at people's different spots. I found Dana's in the middle of the tree. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
So,
When do they actually put it up?
June 7th.
Oh, wow.
Yep, the whole thing will be up, and they're encouraging people to bring their painted tiles with them down that
Take
day.
selfies with the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Underneath of your,
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was hoping mine would be right on the heart of the tree trunk, so that I could. It's my height, and it'd be perfect for my selfie. But that's why I did a brown one. But I don't
No
think
luck.
it's there. Yeah, no luck. Anyway, you win some, you lose some.
Yep. That's it.
That's it. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
Just a question for Joe. You mentioned the station. And I know the meeting is coming up tomorrow, I think.
Meeting with the easement committee is tomorrow.
Is there any time frame of when they could give an opinion or recommendation or further?
Usually they
update?
say we'll receive a letter within 2 weeks of the meeting, but I have a feeling they'll follow up with us shortly thereafter. So
Okay.
I'll make sure the council knows what's going on just as soon as I hear anything.
And they visited the site and got a good look at it?
Not the committee itself didn't visit the site, but some of the staff members there at MHT did. So you know,
Okay.
I think we've done everything we can do to put ourselves in a good position.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, Director Hughes was incredibly gracious for making the time and taking the trip to Sykesville and brought the easement administrator with her as well as another staff member who's unaffiliated with the easement committee. But I think it was incredibly helpful for them to hear and see what they were going to be reading. With, you know, pictures do tell the story, but not as much as hearing it in person and touching and feeling things. So, so we capitalized on the opportunity that they offered us. So I agree with Joe. Fingers crossed, but I felt really good when they left. So
Good, good, thanks.
I noticed that the sold letters were taken down off the side. Okay.
Oh, the sold is off now.
Sold is off.
Okay, because Stay Tuned is on one side and Sold was on the other.
Yeah, I think the stay tuned is still up.
yes.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Yay.
For our visit with the HTC director.
Wonderful.
Or MHT director. So
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you. Okay. Well then, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so moved. So moved. I'm so anxious. I wanted to.
Councilmember Dyer with the
So moved.
with the motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Council President has the second. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
That's a unanimous, and we are adjourned at 7:40.
Wow.